Hi there. Welcome to Sonax Unplugged podcast, where conversations are raw, real, and unfiltered. I am Samantha, and here with me today in the studio is Casmas. So, my brother, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, Samantha. And you there, welcome to today's episode on Sonax Unplugged.
Okay, so today we will be looking at a topic that is sparking debates in homes, schools, churches, even social media. Yeah. This is because I have come across several times where people talk about this particular issue, or let's say they try to shift blames. So, my brother, today we would be discussing a topic that says when a child shows bad behavior, who should be held accountable? Is it the parents at home or the teachers at school? Okay, so my brother, before we get into the talk, I need us to pinpoint what we refer to bad behavior. It is not like we do not know, but to reactivate those keywords in our minds as we are getting into the conversation, we are able to bring everybody to the place of understanding that, look, these are the things that our society marks as bad behavior.
All right, thank you very much. I think, like you've rightfully mentioned, this topic is quite a debatable topic, and it is a topic that has been in existence for quite a long time. Over the ages, people keep debating about this, people keep shifting blame, just like you've said. And talking about bad behaviors, one thing is certain: we know what is bad and we know what is good. No matter how we want to philosophize about it, no matter how we want to justify certain things, in fact, even as a child who is still being breastfed by the mother, at a point, when that child bites the mother's nipple, the mother will just turn and look at he or she, and the reaction shows that he or she knows exactly that is a bad thing.
That's
Okay,
true.
so in context, there are so many bad behaviors being exhibited by children,
Yeah.
and number one, we could talk about disobedience, disobedience,
Disrespect,
disrespect,
aggressiveness, or what we could say aggression.
insolence,
Yes, lack of discipline.
pride, even,
Okay.
because the child
So
is
wait,
bit.
so children actually have pride, or
Oh,
could a child have pride?
yes,
Really?
yes, yes.
Okay.
There are instances, even at home, or because these things, some to an extent, to a greater extent, starts from the home. So
Okay.
there are instances a child misbehaves, and a teacher is trying to put he or she on
On
track,
yes.
and you see the reaction, some sort of pomposity, like, who are
Okay.
you to talk to me that way? Maybe probably because of the home he or she comes
I
from.
got that right. I got that right. I actually wanted you to get more light on that. Okay, so before we get into this topic, we have been able to bring to you what bad behavior. That list is not exhaustive,
It's endless.
so we are just listing but a few. So now the question is, when a child shows bad behavior, who should be held accountable? Is it the parents at home or the teachers at school? That is the question. So while you are getting into the conversation, we need you to communicate. Drop your thoughts. I'm going to leave a link to an anonymous site in case you want to join the conversation anonymously. You're free to drop your thoughts. And then the comment section is open for you to join this conversation. Please, we need your thoughts on this because many people are going to learn from your comments. And then we need you to engage. Okay, so number one, we mentioned parents first. So getting to this point, when we talk about parents, parents are the first teachers. My little niece sang a song. She said that teachers are the first teachers. Actually,
Okay, are the first
teachers
teachers? Are
are
the
their first
first
teachers.
teachers?
Yes. So now, whereas what I was meant to hear, what I came in to understand is that parents are the first teachers. So
That
when did teachers become the first teachers?
that's actually the reality, not just what
I
you were
told her,
born.
don't sing that again, please. So parents build the foundation. Parents are the first models. And when we talk about behavior, there is no child that was born blank, or there's no child that is a blank slate where, oh, this child just came empty. Though the child is a child, a baby, he or she may not really understand the world or the environment around, but that child came with something. And also, there's no child that was well or fully programmed. Okay, I said, look, as you are going to behave badly. So, as parents, these two keywords, nature and nurture. And when I say nature and nature, one is nature and one
One
is
is not
nurture.
nurture.
So, those two words actually play the key role in a child's behavior, whether she's going to be badly behaved or goodly or well behaved. So I'm going to leave the ground for you to come in terms of parents. What responsibility, where do you think that parents actually failed? If a child should portray a bad behavior, or if a child is badly behaved outside, where do you think the parents actually missed out?
Yeah, there shouldn't have been any better starting point in this conversation uh, without being the parents, without involving the parents, because the parents are the primary, they hold that primary responsibilities of nurturing the child.
Yes.
You know, you cannot talk about the child's behavior without talking about socialization.
Yeah.
When you talk of socialization, the parents, we have agents of socialization. We have the primary agents of socialization and the secondary agents of socialization. So the parents are the primary agents of socialization.
Yeah.
When a child is born, you mentioned that there's no child who comes into the world blank.
Blank, yeah.
To an extent, that is true. But there's also a philosopher, John Locke, who argues that anyone who is born into the world comes in blank, in what he describes as a tabula rasa, empty slate. So it is what is being implanted, or on that empty slate that the child nurtures, that grows. So the parents have a primary responsibility, a primary role to play, because when the child is born, the first contact he or she has is with the parents, either the father or the mother. So the parent gives that foundation. That's why even in the traditional African society, there's a way you behave, and the elderly ones will ask you, "Adenye Niego," which translates to, "Who is your father? Who is your
Now,
mother?"
that is the part that every child that is born does not come blank and is not fully programmed. So, meaning that a child that is just born is both coming in with something and also empty on the other
That's
side.
true,
So,
that's true.
that is where nature and nurture comes
That's striking a
in.
balance.
Yes.
You see, when there's a certain way, certain traits that a child exhibits, and we'll be forced to ask, "Adeje Niego, who
Exactly.
is your father? Who is your mother?" Because we want to now confirm that this behavior is actually that resembles your father, or in other way, it is that which is contrary to what your father is being known for.
Yes.
So that points to the fact that the parents have a primary role to play in the upbringing of the child, and not just the upbringing, in the characters, the traits that the child exhibits, the behavior that the child exhibits in the
Yes.
society.
Yes, that's very correct, my brother. And I am so happy for this session because something happened 2 weeks ago. I went to my neighborhood to pick up a few things from the store. There is a school in the estate I live. Do you know that about 7 students came from school? They were on their way back from school. The youngest among them should be 12. So I do not know the issue they had, but I noticed from afar while trekking down that one of them had run into their compound. So they were just there was a kind of chaos looking at what was going on. Do you know when I got to these children, none of them was up to 16. Young people, very young people. Do you know none of them greeted me? Number one, I just looked at them. Within me, because I am an African and I'm from Akwa Ibom. We greet even strangers on the road. That is what we were born to see.
That's true.
You understand?
Yeah.
You get into a shop, even in the market, mamo komo, make namo.
That's true.
You understand? So if these children walked past without greeting, I just said, within me, children of these days, they will just walk past an adult without saying a word, no greeting. I just passed. Do you know, it did not get up to 1 minute. What came out from that boy's mouth, I could not walk past. Yes. The boy screamed at the other boy who had already entered their compound. He said, that wretched thing you call a mom, is that one a mother? That wretched thing you call a mom, is that one a mother? God of heavens. I reversed. I trekked back. I said, come here. The other ones began to shiver.
Shiver.
They were saying, Shay, I told you people to stop this nonsense. Now look, they began to say things amongst themselves. Oh, I screamed to the topmost of my voice that I lost my voice at that instant. I told him, look, if you were my child, I would deal with you till that evil spirit in you. I was so mad on the road.
I can
I could not
imagine.
control myself.
I can
I've
imagine.
never heard of such a thing. I don't know if I've ever heard a child of that age, a child that is less than 15 years, telling another child, that wretched thing you call a mom, is that one a mother? Oh my goodness. So, with your school uniform, and then you think in that same estate, I would recommend anybody to that school. That's where we are. Now, if imagine someone who didn't have understanding that the blame shouldn't be on the school. What of where this boy is
It's
coming from?
the home.
Now, I would judge the school. I would judge the school like, look at, imagine this. Imagine this school. They don't have training. They don't know how to train their children. Imagine disgracing this uniform on the road. You understand? So, before we get to a point where we blame teachers who spend up to 6 to 8 hours with our children in the school, they have their shared responsibility. But we should look at where these children are coming from, the home.
The home.
What are parents doing? Have they done enough? A parent may, or let's say parents, two parents may have two children in the same home, same discipline, all right? One may be calm, the other one may be hostile. So does it mean that they are giving them different discipline measures?
Yeah, not really, not really, because that is where the trait, the gene, comes in.
Okay.
You know, there are some persons that are very temperamental,
Thank you.
and there are some that are cool-headed. You know, that doesn't make the other person better in a way than the other person, or it doesn't mean that much attention is being given to the other person than the other. And it is just that this is how nature made this person to be. But again, the parent also have a role to play by, breaking those wings.
Thank you.
There's it just that even you mentioned the teachers, even the school, there's some learners that need particular attention, that need more attention than the other person. So it is for the parents to be able to know which category does this child falls under, so as to know the amount of attention or the type of attention also to give to the child.
And the measure of discipline and the kind of discipline.
yeah.
There are children who are stubborn, and if you think that you should break them with stubbornness or hostility, or should break them with should I say being
an
hard,
eye for an eye kind of
on
situation.
them, yes, you end up worsening the situation. So parents, once you have your child, once a child comes into your home, start reading, start having understanding. How will I train this one? How would this one end up being useful in the society, not being a nuisance in the society? So parents, you have had your part, that your hands are not clean, or if your child is badly behaved, your hands are not clean.
Certainly.
And then we move to we move to teachers who are trained to reinforce or shape the behavior of children. Most times you cannot really blame teachers 100%, though they have their shared responsibility,
Yeah.
because what is brought to you from home is what you're going to reinforce, is what you're going to work on. Let's say a child comes to you at 5 years old. That child already knows how to blink. The child already knows how to say idiot, animal, depending on the environment,
The environment
he or
and
she
the parental he or
is
she
coming from.
coming from.
Okay, so if this child doesn't experience love at home, maybe this child, or even this child is over pampered by some parents who over pamper their children. So you can see that such a child is coming to, especially this time around, that I learned they no longer beat children in school. That you
I'm
dare
there
not
for it.
touch
Don't touch my
someone's
child.
child. That's fine. It's okay. There's no problem. Don't touch. But teachers are gonna build on what is coming somewhere. But this is where we are gonna hold teachers responsible. When a child comes to you, this child is coming with different characters, different behavior, different attitudes. Okay, you as a trained teacher, this is your field, this is your responsibility. You are also a psychologist. You should already have measures. on how to handle each child, just like you said. You do not take the measures for this one to the other
To the other
person.
person.
So every single child in your class, you know what each of them can do. You are like a second parent. Imagine children staying with you up to 8 hours in a day, and you say you do not know them.
That's not
You
true.
know them. So I'm going to let you share your ideas or your thoughts on the aspects where you think we should catch this set of people.
Teach.
Uh-huh.
Samantha,
Yes.
you kept mentioning teachers. You kept referring to them as trained teachers.
Yes.
Trained teachers.
Yes.
I want to deviate a little bit from there.
Okay.
Because the truth is, most of these teachers are not trained.
Okay.
Yes, they are not. They are just what we may describe as a child of circumstance.
Okay.
They happen to find themselves there, perhaps because that's the only option available.
Okay, like the only job.
The
Looking
only
at
job.
the
So
economy
they
of
may
the
not
country.
they may not really know the nitty-gritty of the profession, the teaching
Really?
profession.
Okay.
But again, there's what environment does to people. So even if you were not trained from the onset, but if you find yourself in that environment in the profession, you should be able to learn the ethics of the profession.
That's true.
Now, so these teachers, they have enormous influence on their child. They have enormous influence on the child. In fact, do you know there are some children, there's some behaviors they will put on, and if you try to correct them, they will tell you, no, my teacher said, even as a parent,
You can see the magnitude.
yes, even as
of that influence.
even as a parent, your
yes.
child will argue that my teacher said, meaning that he or she even believes the teacher
You
more
are
than
very correct.
more than he or she does. So that shows the influence that the child has. And again, because of the nature of the work some of our parents are engaged in, they spend less time with the children. The teacher even spend more time
More
with them.
time.
In the morning before 7 o'clock, they have dropped the children off in school. And they may even stay till, these days school will even close around 4, 5, and they will
5.
come to even pick the children by that time. When they get back to the house, they're stressed, they're tired, trying to make food, they sleep. And the routine continues. So the child spends
Spends more
more
time.
time with the teacher. So you see, the teacher has enormous influence because whatsoever you teach the child is what he or she will take to be the truth or to be the right thing.
Yes.
So
You
the
see.
teachers have a lot of influence on the child's
That is
behavior.
it. So teachers, you cannot escape. Teachers, you cannot escape. So there's no point shifting blames and saying, this child had already bad behavior before he or she came, or this was already a spoiled child before he was registered in our school. There's no point to say that. You take responsibility because you are part of the issue. Okay, this is where the society comes in. When we share this responsibility to parents, teachers, where are the parents? Where are the teachers? Where are those children? Everyone, every party is living in the society where we have the media, where we have people doing all manner of things. Even in the same compound we live, you may get to blame the parents, blame the teacher. But these children, when they come home, the little time they have, or even when you step out, they are communicating, they are conversing, they are relating, they are playing with other children. Some of them have access to television. You do not know what they are watching when you are not around. So a whole lot. So the society, on the other hand, this one is very hard though, because this one is like speaking to people from different backgrounds, speaking to people from different walks of life, speaking to people from different ideologies, belief systems. So how do you bring the society to say, look, can we rethink, can we recreate what we know as discipline, what we know as something good? This is what is good. Let everybody follow this path. How do you make that possible? That everybody, stop influencing my children, or your behavior online, you are misbehaving, you are creating nudity, you are creating wrong content, you are misbehaving, and that is influencing my child. My child is now portraying bad behavior. How do you now speak to thousands, hundreds, millions of people to not to influence your child?
It's quite difficult, I may say. When you talk of the society, let us not have this impression that society has to do with people in the outside world. We are part of the society. You've rightly mentioned the environment we find ourselves,
Yes.
the peer group also, because peer group influence also had a lot of impact on the child's behavior.
Exactly.
So the truth is, to an extent, we may not be able to control what the society, in quote, would implant on our children. But if we are able to give them that solid foundation,
Thank you.
they can now be able to decipher, to sieve whatsoever information, whatsoever they get from outside, they can now be able to decipher to know, this is good, this one is bad.
You have answered it, sir.
And now again, I will refer us to the traditional African society. In the traditional African society, my child is not just my child; it is also your child. So if my child misbehaves, even when you don't even know me as the
Yes,
parent of the
so that
child,
was it, no.
yes,
Now,
you draw it or
exactly.
what
The
you are doing is bad.
African in me activated that moment.
Don't,
Remember
that,
now?
that example that you
Hey.
gave. So we even as grown up, we need to be conscious. We need to know that these children we are training, it is not just for the parent. We are also training them for ourselves. Because if they turn out to be good people, we can sleep in the night with our eyes closed. But if they turn out to be nuisance, then it
Yes.
becomes a problem to everybody. So it is such a shared responsibility.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Everyone out there, if you are joining this conversation, this is Sonax Unplugged podcast. I hope so far you can relate because, of course, this is not something that would sound strange to you. If you're not a parent yet, definitely you would be tomorrow, or you have nieces around you, or you have passed on the road, you've walked past somewhere, and then you saw a child who misbehaved or who put out a bad behavior, just like I did. Okay, so at this point, we have said a lot, we have shared a lot. I know you can relate. Can you share your thoughts in the comments? Can you let us also know what you think, or who should be blamed the more? Who should take the greater part of the blame for a child's behavior? For me, right now, I am giving out equal responsibility because everyone plays a part. Every party plays a role. So at this point, I need you to, should I say, a call to action? So to crown it all, what's the way out? What should be done?
All right. So, as a parting shot, just like we've said that all of us, we have different roles to play. All the parties involved. It is not a one-man business.
Yeah.
We should not really blame the parents. We should not give the blame to the teachers, to the society. It requires a collaborative effort. So everybody has to live up to expectations. As a parent, you know your role, know what they're supposed to do,
Yeah.
act it out. As a teacher, you know what you're supposed to do. Even churches, the peer groups, social groups, and all of that. All of us, we have to, all hands has to be
Must
on
be
deck.
on deck.
Yeah, because an injury to one is an injury to
To
all.
all. Thank you very much, my brother Cosmos. It was really an interesting session, and I something really struck me. Something you said, yeah, that a child who has a solid foundation. I am paraphrasing. I may not be able to quote you word to word. A child who has a solid foundation from home, that child will grow with integrity. Nothing will shift what the child knows.
That's true.
Nothing will shift, not even religion, not even anything. Have you ever seen a child who says, "No, my mommy said I should not do that. That's bad. That's a sin. I cannot do that because my mommy said I shouldn't do that.
That's true.
Do not touch me. My mommy said." That child will grow with that. That is the sweetest thing that I have learned, even as we were conversing, even as we were engaging. That is the sweetest thing that I have learned, that any child that has a solid foundation, something has been built into that child. No matter where he goes to, no matter where he or she finds him or herself, that child would always portray the best and would live an exemplary life. That's amazing. So, friends, this is Sonax Unplugged podcast, and we are coming to a close. As we get to a close, remember that this remember that this show is brought to you by Sonax TV team. So in case you need a space for any of your activities, be it interview, be it content creation, do not fail to reach out to us because we have Sonax studio waiting for you. It is amazing. All right. So we are going to call it a day. See you in our next episode and stay unplugged. Bye.